everything that I was doing before with my coaching, but to a slightly different audience. A lot of the skills that I have as both an actor and as a coach to influencers before, I'm transferring those skills over to entrepreneurs who want to grow their personal brands. We do live in this world of visibility, of showing up, and that being the way of life now in business. I am teaching other very successful business owners. I'm also very picky about who I work with for this reason. Like, I want to work with the people that are building businesses and brands, because I believe that these people should be heard and you should be seen and you should be noticed for what you bring to this world.
Welcome to the Love Your Brand podcast. If you're looking for real conversations with real people, you're the right place. Let's go!
Let's go. Welcome to the Love Your Brand show. Today, we are blessed and impressed with Miss Jessica Paul. She's a TV actor, screenwriter, multi-business owner, and accredited high-level performance coach with over 10 plus years experience in the entertainment industry. She has gained a crap ton of social status across mediums, produced a top-ranking podcast, and has coached over 200 plus entrepreneurs. Yeah, I think that number's right. Jessica is the founder and CEO of Scorpio, a mindset and visibility coaching service, helping founders and talent get noticed, grow their personal brands, and call in more opportunities in their business and in their life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Jessica Paul.
Welcome, Jess. The crowd goes wild.
I love that intro. Thanks.
Thank you. I worked hard on it.
That was an impressive intro. And we noticed your accent first. Is that South Carolina?
No, are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
She's like, I don't know who's talking to you.
She's like, what?
It's like, who are we talking to?
Listen, I can do a South Carolina accent if you want me to.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. She dropped that on the pre-call we had. Jess, I think you're our first guest from the United Kingdom. And
am I the first?
Yeah, you are our first. Hopefully not the last, but
yeah.
I don't know if it's public knowledge yet. If it is, we'll edit this out. But you have some plans to possibly move out of the UK, right?
I do indeed. I've got my visa in process right now, so just fingers crossed for me, guys, that I'll be approved and I'll be allowed in.
Awesome. Where are you going?
I'm moving to California.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm assuming, as Jason read that off with your background and current with being an actor, is California the draw based on that?
Yeah, and I have some very close friends that live in Orange County, which is where I'll be basing myself. And yeah, a lot of it is to do with lifestyle, and just I've kind of hit this point in my life. I'm in my 30s living in the UK, and I don't really have any ties here. And so I kind of I want to move, I want to go, and all my friends are there. But then obviously, yeah, as an actor, as a creative, being right by LA is probably the best place for me right now at this point in my life. So I'm just going to go and see what happens.
That's awesome. Orange County is a beautiful spot to go. And I'll tell you what, Jason, you probably agree with this. So Jess, we have a mobile studio and we actually bring it to different locations. So get settled in Orange County. We'll just pull this thing all the way across the country and we'll do the next one with you live in the studio.
That would be amazing. Then I can meet you both in person.
Absolutely. All right.
That would be a trip. I don't know if we would survive. I'm just going to be honest with you.
I bet we'd have some good behind the scenes footage of that one.
Sure. It might take us about 3 weeks to get there, but we would eventually get there. I promise you. Jessica, I met Jessica through LinkedIn, ladies and gentlemen. The power of LinkedIn, right? That's the first thing that sparked my eye when I saw Miss Jessica Paul. Her LinkedIn presence is phenomenal. And you haven't been on it that long, correct, Jessica?
No, and this is the reason why I'm really quite passionate about coaching people in visibility, because LinkedIn was a platform I always thought was not for me as an actor, as a creative. I joined LinkedIn around 9 months ago, And I joined it specifically to get a job, because at the time I was like, right, okay, I've hit this point in my, I kind of like, I was coaching a lot at the time before that. And then I was in a point where I was like, right, I want to learn a bit more. I want to work within an agency. So I was like, okay, where do I find a job? LinkedIn, right? And so I joined, around 9 months ago. And I guess I just started building a brand in the same way that I would have done anywhere else. I built quite a successful brand over on Instagram and TikTok and, these other platforms. And I just was myself. And now we're on around 25,000 community team members, and, and just keep growing. And I'm really passionate about helping other creative people and other entrepreneurs and, founders do the same thing, because it's actually opened up so many doors for me.
That's impressive. 9 months to get to 25,000 connections. It is quite a feat. So we could ask a lot of questions. You mentioned coaching, and then you got into LinkedIn, and also you're on Instagram and then switched over to LinkedIn. So what kind of coaching were you doing, and why did you make that pivot to LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I was coaching artists and actors and influencers. And, it was really coming from obviously my own background. And I was coaching a lot and finding the majority of my clients on Instagram. And then when I moved to LinkedIn specifically to, I got the job, by the way. Like I did.
Congratulations.
I got a job. Since left the job, obviously, to like go back into self-employment. But, I did end up getting the job. I was working in agency life, and I was, finding that on LinkedIn, there was also like a completely different audience of people. And one thing that I think is so, I obviously don't want this whole podcast to be a LinkedIn, podcast, but I do think as a platform, a really great platform for entrepreneurs and creatives to be building their brands on, because you're surrounded by a certain caliber of people who, I'm just going to be brutally honest, have money, have their, can I swear? Like they have their shit together. And they're all professional people, Obviously you get a few people that slip through the net, but you're around a much more high caliber of people on LinkedIn than you are on these other social platforms. And as a business owner, that's really, really important. So for me, it's been a really vital space to grow my own business and to get myself noticed.
Absolutely. Jason and I love LinkedIn. It's by far my favorite platform, because any other social media platform, you just don't know what you're going to get. You log on to social media, you just want to kind of check out. You never want to get sold, but every company pays ads, so you're getting hit with everything. But if you're hopping on LinkedIn, you're going for business advice, you're going for connections, you're going for networking, you're going for that. So it at least is that vehicle and avenue, like you said, people that have money, people that want to grow themselves professionally, personally. And I mean, the way you show up, you said it a second ago, just being authentic and being who you are. We often talk about that authenticity is the anchor to any brand. But I'm curious, let's keep going back a minute. So how did you become an actor? Is this like, childhood dream? You want to go be in Hollywood, you want to be in the movies, you want to be in a Hallmark movie? Like, what was it?
Do you know what? I love being asked this question, because I don't get to talk about this as much, with these interviews. It's always so business heavy, but with my acting career, I started probably a bit later on in life than most people. You hear these actors that always start off as like child actors, and they're like, I always knew I wanted to be in the industry. For me, I always had a talent, and I loved it, and I always did, the extracurricular stuff at school and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I got to college, which is, I don't know the difference with you guys, but I was 17, basically. I was around 17 years old, and I met a guy who became a really good friend and close mentor of mine, who basically took me under his wing and was like, listen, you need to audition for drama school because you have a talent. And I was like, I don't have a clue what any of that means. Like, I didn't, he applied for all of these drama schools for me on my behalf. He was like, these are all the ones, these were like the top drama schools in the UK. And I just went along to these places. I just, I had no idea. Again, a massive level of naivety. which is actually what I put down to the majority of my success today. Because I could say the same about LinkedIn. I was just massively naive about what the platform actually was. Anyways, and I went to these auditions, and I ended up getting shortlisted for the majority of these top drama schools, and then getting in on the spot to one of them. And at the time, again, I didn't really realize the weight of that. And my mentor at the time said to me, Jess, do you realize what you've done? And I was like, no. And he was like, you have to go. So I was all ready to do psychology actually as a degree, and I was all ready to go and do that, and go off and do that with my life. And then I got this opportunity to go to drama school, and that was what started off my career. And then I trained 3 years there, and ended up getting the lead role in the kind of like final show there, which got me my agent, which got me onto the West End in the UK, and that sparked off my career. And then I've had a very lucrative career since then, and done a lot of stage, done a lot of TV, and now and also, worked on my own projects, produced my own stuff, written my own stuff, a screenwriter as well. So it's been my life, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And then, now, like I said, trying my hand in America.
So exciting. I think everyone has a secret kind of hidden passion. So one day I'm just going to be found. They're going to see me on the street, and they're going to say, hey, I need this Southern guy with long hair and a beard to play this role. And bam, I'm going to get it. But it hasn't happened yet.
But do you know what, though? It's like, I can sit here and openly admit that I don't have my big break yet. It's not there yet. I have achieved a lot with my life, but like that big break where I'm like famous known actor, I don't have that yet. But I'm like fully comfortable with that, because I think that a lot of actors, and actually this goes for business owners as well, entrepreneurs, anybody who has a goal, I think a lot of the time we're always striving for that big goal, that big break, and forgetting that you cannot get from where you are right now to where you want to be without actually wanting what you have right now.
Mm.
And right now, what I have is a great life. I'm like sorting my visa for America. I'm working with amazing clients. I have the freedom to do these creative things. And like, I'm so in love with that I know that that's why my big break is going to happen. And I just know it's going to happen. And, your audience can hear it.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
I just know. And it's that level of delusion that I live with that honestly it shapes my life. It's naivety. Like I am naive half the time to certain things, and it's delusion. And when I like live my life in this way, that's what brings me the opportunities. And I think anybody with a goal, anybody with a passion, we get to fall in love with where we are right now in order to get to that goal.
Yeah, I know you talk a lot about mindset, Jessica. And to me, naivety, if I said that correctly, or just
naivety,
whatever.
I think you said the nativity.
The nativity scene. No, but optimistic. I think a lot of people can be very, very optimistic. And to me, that's kind of the same thing. It's always expecting, a good outcome with a growth mindset. I believe that's with business owners, with CEOs, that's very important. And I think that's kind of, you've honed in on that trait, and that's what you kind of help instill in leaders. And, right now it's a big buzz of, not buzz, but it's the celebrity CEO, right? They have came out and, hey, we're entrepreneurs. We've got brands, personal brands, businesses. You're seeing them pop up on LinkedIn everywhere. Ryan Reynolds, Tim Tebow, right? You've got the full spectrum. So I think this history and this passion of yours is going to almost be like your superpower when you're coaching and training.
I agree. I genuinely think this is why, number one, I am good at what I do and I can get my clients results. And it's because I've had those years of experience of knowing what it's like to be visible and also being able to handle my visibility. Because I think, with the rise of personal brands today, there's a lot of founders that are like, okay, great, I've got to get on LinkedIn, I've got to grow this brand, I want to be seen. But then the reality is, are you actually ready to be seen? Are you actually comfortable being visible?
That's good.
And I think, as an actor who, and I've grown up in that industry, I had to get comfortable, even when at first I wasn't necessarily, like I said, I only started around 17 years old, and I had to push through a lot of fears as an actor when it came to showing up and being seen. And now what I'm finding and what we're seeing in the world is that in business today, these are qualities that entrepreneurs themselves have to harness now too, because of the rise of personal branding. So if you have a subconscious fear around being seen, you'll never grow your brand. It will never that level of fame will never come to you, because you're constantly going to be blocking it subconsciously. And that's really the deep work that I do with my clients today. That's it. It's getting to the root of what those fears are. And it's rewiring our subconscious, basically, so that you are comfortable with being seen. You have no fears around fame, because it's a word that I think with the as you just said, celebrity CEO, they're two words that you don't think go together usually. It's like this crossover of the entertainment industry and the business industry. And who would have thought that these two things were crossing over? I think it's great. But, it's being comfortable with that language. It's being comfortable with fame. If you're serious about growing a personal brand, which a lot of people are serious about today, because it is the way to bring in more business. It is the way to make more money, and that's just the way the world is moving now. So I 100%. Said to you guys, I said, like, you're either on the train or you're not. And I want to help teach people to get onto the train.
100%. Spot on. I think these next 5 years specifically, personal brand is going to just skyrocket, and you got to put that focus on it. I'm reminded when I was in college, based on what you're saying, public speaking, that was a class that I pushed off to the very end. It was like, that was my biggest fear, was standing up in front of class or in front of anybody and speaking. And it took years to understand why, what was the big fear around that. And it was pretty much that I'm going to look stupid, or I'm going to have the wrong thing to say, or people are going to make fun of me. I think I said on our last podcast, it's like I'm a recovering people pleaser, to where I would craft my message to where everybody would like it, instead of just being authentic in who I am. Because I think what's important with personal brands, or just anybody in general, is that you can't please everyone. And if you try to please everyone, you're not going to, grow. You're not going to gain, that community and people that follow you. And once I got into the business world, I started speaking at different events and things like that. And it was so easy for me to speak at an event because I could control it. I could prepare my presentation. I knew exactly what I was going to talk about, and I could deliver very well. Then an opportunity came up for me where I would be on a speakers panel. And so now there's like 5 people, and we're getting questions from the audience, and it terrified me. It took me back to college of, public speaking, because it was like, well, crap, what kind of questions are they going to ask? What if I don't know the answer? What if I look stupid? What if and I'm just playing this stuff in my head. Like, as you talk about mindset and coaching your clients, I needed that back then. And it took me a while to realize, hey, I know my stuff. I know what I'm good at, this and that. And I started, resting in my identity and who I was. And then if I don't know the answer, I say it now. It's like, look, I don't know that, but I probably know somebody that does, and I'll get that answer for you, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so the mindset piece is just so critical, to the growth. I have a couple questions for you. Did you you said you went to college, and when you started getting connected, going into becoming an actor, you started off with psychology as your degree.
Mm.
Did you finish up college with that degree?
No, so that was that. I did study that when I was 17, 18, but then I had put that in to go to university in the UK, which would have been, then going off and having a degree in psychology. But I chose, obviously, to go down the acting route. But I think a lot of the psychological piece that I learned back then, and by the way, I'm constantly learning. Like, I'm always reading. I'm always learning about the brain. It's one of the reasons actually why my business is called Scorpio, because like, for anybody who listens that might know a bit about astrology, Scorpios are inherently, they are psychologists. They are the psychologists of the zodiac. They just love anything to do with the human brain. And for me, I've always been that way, which is why I think I found it such a natural transition to move into acting, because you've got to know about the human brain as an actor, because you're being different characters, you're being different humans. But yes, I studied psychology then, and this is the other thing with my coaching, is that it is very mindset based. It's mindset based, and it's energy based. It's the energy that you naturally give off when you do shift your mindset. But going back to something you said about how you were a perfectionist, and you wanted to get things perfect and say
People
the right
pleaser.
a people pleaser.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to
I don't believe it. I still don't believe it.
About being a people pleaser. You know, the fact is, we all want to, as people growing personal brands, which I assume your audience listening, they're all sort of building a personal brand.
Totally.
The fact is, we all want to stand out, but we can't stand out if we are pleasing the whole world. In that sense, you will never be seen, because you'll just be a part of the crowd. And this comes down to, again, in psychology, this comes down to literally years, billions of years prior, when we were cavemen and women, right? When we were there, in that age, we were constantly trying to survive. Okay, so we were living in an age where if we stepped out of our group, our little tribe that we were in at that time, we would probably get eaten by a tiger or a bear. And that is instilled and ingrained within us on a psychological level, so that we're in the 21st century now, but we still think, oh my gosh, if I step out of the crowd, if I do something a little bit differently, if I show up in a different way, I'm going to be eaten by a tiger. That's literally what our brains are telling us. And obviously not when, we're not, there's no tigers around to eat us now, but we fear this idea of stepping out of the crowd. But ironically, it's in stepping out of the crowd that you grow your brand and you stand out. So it's letting go of those fears around being embarrassed, doing something wrong, saying something wrong, not pleasing everybody, and filtering out the people that you are speaking to, so that you find your tribe and that you create the tribe. You actually become the leader of the tribe. That's what a good brand is today.
Yeah. And Jessica, I think it's, the last 5 years, you've seen such an uptick of the personal brands and people speaking authenticity and their point of views, if it's a love it or hate it, right? It's like, I don't mind if you think the same way I do, but this is my values. This is my mission. This is what I believe. And, with the long form podcast and the media, let's face it, mass media has kind of fell to the sideline a little bit. And I think it's like you said, it's people realizing that they can't be in the crowd. They can't please everyone. And I think they're the ones that are reaping the benefits of trying to be true to who they are, and unapologetic, right?
Massively. And having a balance is really key as well here, because I think that, you can also swing a little bit too far the other way, where you sort of go, well, no, these are all my opinions and I've got the freedom of speech and I can say whatever I want now, because you've got platforms like TikTok that allow you to do that.
Right.
Which is great, but also authenticity means what it says on the tin. Like, it means being real to who you are. So if you're swinging, also I look at it like a little bit of a pendulum. Like, if you're shouting too much about your ideals and your beliefs and the things that you think are right, without actually having a little balance and being like, actually, well, yeah, this is what I believe, but also I can see your point too.
I love it.
You are going to find that actually destroys your brand in the long run. Like, that will kill your brand in the long run, because you're not being balanced as a person. And that is also very important to me, because I'll hold my hands up. I think over the years, I probably swung too far on the pendulum and wasn't as balanced. It got me seen, but it didn't necessarily get me seen for the right reasons. And this isn't, I didn't do anything wrong. It was just like, when I was coaching, I was so passionate about my beliefs. I was talking about my beliefs all the time, without considering that actually maybe some people didn't believe in the same things that I believed in, which is absolutely
so
fine.
Cool.
And so, I've learned from that. And now, building a brand up today and, working on Scorpio, I've been a lot more balanced in my approach. And I love that. And that is authentic to me. And
it's awesome.
I hope that will create a brand that lasts.
This is where like core values are important with the personal brand, to where you can look at leadership. We all read books. We all listen to podcasts, and there's so much content out there that's the same content, leadership styles. There's only so much you can have, but we all are naturally attracted to somebody's certain style of their communication or their beliefs or their core values, what's important to them. And so that was kind of what I was talking about earlier with me. It's like, if you're wishy-washy, nobody knows what you truly stand for. And therefore, they're going to go find somebody that connects, or they believe the same things, those core values that are important. And so if I'm going to receive information that's going to help me grow or grow my business or me personally, is somebody that's going to be aligned with what matters to me, the organizations that I support, the communities that I want to pour into, my beliefs on a personal level, or whatever it is. And so you just have to, it doesn't mean that you're, so opposing to somebody who's different than you, but it's just putting it out there that this is who I stand for. And that was my fear growing up, was that, well, if I really put everything out there and this is who I am, people are going to hate me, or people are going to make fun of me, or people are going to get this and that. And it's like, college education is not what taught me anything that I'm doing today. I mean, there are principles I learned in school, but it was really a school of hard knocks. You get out in the real world, you have a family, you get married, you have a career, you're getting in the boxing ring and different aspects of it, and you learn from it and you grow from it. And I think if you know Donald Miller with StoryBrand, he talks a lot about two elements with your brand, is empathy and authority. And the empathy piece, I think, is really important, because it's okay to disagree, but it's your tone, it's how you communicate, it's how you connect with somebody, that we can have beautiful disagreements. Because I'm tired of seeing where disagreements, and look at the world over the past 4 years, especially, it's like, you can't have an opposing belief without people willing to die for, you disagree with me. What happened to the conversations where we can just talk about it?
You make such a good point here. I didn't realize the conversation. I love this. I love how podcasts just flow in such like weird directions. But
totally,
you bring up such a good point. The question you got to ask yourself is: are you building a brand, or are you building a cult? Because I really dislike these cult followings of people, and some in quite a dangerous, people go down quite a dangerous route with it. And I think that is not the way to grow a brand. You might be catering for a certain group of people, which is great, and finding your people, but without balance as a leader, as someone that is leading a brand, without balance, you will crash and burn. You will burn, and things won't have any kind of longevity. So I think it's really important. Building a brand is being inclusive of everyone. It's being an inclusive leader, but it's talking to your people and being balanced in your approach. I think these are all really, really important things to talk about, actually, with the rise of personal branding, because you do have more and more people showing up, talking about what they believe, talking about what they think. Being able to be balanced and being and understanding and having empathy with the collective is very, very important and very, very needed today in today's society especially.
Well said.
Absolutely. Building bridge, right? Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Oh, that's good.
You know, it's the delivery. You know, if you can deliver it with empathy and understanding, it's well received. And I was listening to a podcast, you know, me being an older male father figure.
Older male. That's right.
Older male. Well, mid-aged male. Middle-aged. What I mean, I'm not gonna say
I got more color, so I can't really talk.
So it was how do we connect with the younger generation of men? How do we communicate? And one just big nugget I received was they want to be heard. They need a little tenderness. They want you to hear kind of what they believe and why, and just have that exchange instead of really just trying to drive everything home, like you know, like beating a nail in a piece of lumber. So that really struck me because, you know, talking with, you know, younger entrepreneurs, male specifically, you know, I'm not too keen on the female world, but well, I do have a daughter, but that's a whole nother story. A lot of emotions.
You have two of them.
This is like such important conversation because, well, there actually is a lot of conversation around this for men, and this empathetic approach, women as leaders do find it easier. You know, with that approach, it is more natural for us as women. It's not natural for us as women to be on this daily hustle, on this daily grind. And the way women do business, or the feminine, you know, do business, I think men can take a lot of lessons from that. And, you know, that this isn't me being preachy about that kind of thing. Like I'm a visibility coach, right? But I think that there can be a lot to learn from that empathy that women naturally show. And it's and it is a trend I have seen on LinkedIn, a movement that I've seen on LinkedIn, is that there was a lot of this hustle bro culture. There was a lot of this, you know, of that hustle mentality, which is now, people are tired of it. People are tired of that. And that is, yes, like I said, going to attract a certain type of person. But what people are actually needing today as leaders is more of that empathy. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other as male and female leaders, and I find this whole topic really interesting. I'm not an expert in it, so I'm not going to keep talking about it. But
have you ever coached a male, or just all females?
Say that again.
Have you ever coached a male entrepreneur or celebrity?
Yeah, I have. But I do majority coach women. And the reason for that is because, as I just said, there is a slightly different approach. But I'm really quite passionate actually in coaching more men, because I do think that it would be very interesting. But again, this is part of building a personal brand, because my personal brand is a lot more catered to women. I do use my language, who I am as a person. I attract women to me as a woman myself, and just, you know, being the woman I am and showing up as the woman I am, and that works for me, and that's great. If I did want to attract more men into my community, I would probably shift up my language a little bit, and I would have more balance, and I would accommodate more, which I think is really, really important. I think I'm quite balanced on LinkedIn. Back years ago, I was just catering for women, and it was very obvious, you know, down to little things like using certain emojis in your writing on your, you know, in your posts. Like, that's going to turn a man off, you know. Not every man, but it will, and that's again getting clear on what your brand is and how you want to be known and how you want to present yourself in the world. All of that is very, very important, because it is either turning people on or turning people off on a daily basis.
I think at the end, you're spot on, Jess. And like at the end of the day, I have no problems being coached by a woman or a man. You know, I think both offer immense value. It's honestly, I get sick of the men can't do this, women can't do this, whatever it is. It's like, I don't follow somebody based on their gender. I follow somebody based on the value that they provide. And Jason said something about tone earlier. And I'm constantly reminded of Maya Angelou. She had a quote that said, people won't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. And when you think about personal branding, I mean, what does brand mean? Brand means emotions. It means feelings. When you say brand, or you think of a brand, what are the emotions that it evoke? And so it's like the information we retain when you go see somebody speak is like 3 to 5%, they say. You don't remember hardly anything that they spoke about. Marketing is all about repetition. You got to say it over and over and over and over again. But it's those feelings of when I engage with you, Jess, these are the feelings I feel. I feel safe. I feel loved. I feel empowered. I feel whatever it is. And you get to choose that as a coach. We all get to choose that with our personal brands. Like, what is it if a client interacts with me and engages with me? These are what matter. And they have to be true. They have to be authentic, because you can see through that BS. You can see when somebody is just not being authentic, and it's a turnoff, and it'll only last, a temporary amount of time before that is exposed. But I think I want to come back to my question earlier when I asked you about college and psychology, because it's funny. I think 2 days ago, I was just talking to my wife about this. We were talking about college, and I said, if I went back to college, I would study human psychology. And from what I've learned, I've been in marketing, business development for over 20 years. And like I said earlier, I've learned everything kind of in the real world as opposed to what I was taught. I went to college just to get a degree. I had no direction. It was just, I'm going to get a sheet of paper. And I know that's the requirement to go to a corporate job. You have to have a paper on the wall that says, I spent 4 years, for my case, 5.5, getting, this and that. But it's like, the more I've learned, if you understand how human psychology, how people are wired, and the language, the colors, the emotions, the tone, all these elements, like, it makes sales and marketing so simple. And like, how much, I don't know what my question was now, but I was curious, like, if you finished out college, I mean, how much do you see your crossover in acting versus being a mindset coach? And does one, feed into the other?
Oh, massively. I think this is why I'm so happy with where I'm at in life now, because with everything that I've learned, it all blends so perfectly together. Being a coach, being in personal branding, being in the marketing space, and being an actor, as you just said, in the marketing world, if you don't know, marketing is just human psychology. That's what it is. Like, there is really nothing else to it in that sense, because if you don't know how people tick, or if you don't want to get to know how people tick, you can't know how to sell anything. Like, you won't sell anything. And this is why the majority of actors, you will hear stories of actors who are incredibly good at sales because they know people. And it goes deeper than just putting an act on and putting a character on, and because that's unsustainable. Like I said before, you will crash and burn if you're putting a character on in your brand. You will crash and burn. But it goes deeper than that. It goes to actually, like, it's a feeling place. It's and again, this might sound a little bit woo-woo for some people listening, but this goes to an energetic place. And this is the other side of things that I work on with my clients. So we work on the mindset, the subconscious belief side of things, which again, actually, some of the men that I have coached, they really get on board with that stuff. And, you've got other big coaches out there teaching that stuff. But the more of the energetic piece, that's where you've got to look at how that feeling, like you just said, when you're growing a brand, that feeling that you are creating, that feeling, you will be creating a feeling in every single room that you walk into. And if your energy space isn't clean, if you don't know the energy that you're giving off in a room, you don't know how your brand is coming across. And one of the best ways to actually just figure this out and find clarity with this in the first place is asking those questions to people that have been around you, you've been in rooms with. How did I make you feel? Just ask the question. That is the fastest way to find clarity on where your brand kind of is right now. So for example, like I've asked this question and people have told me, you inspire me. Inspiration has been a huge one with the way that I show up. What you said before, I feel safe around you. So many of my clients say that to me. I would not sign a client if they didn't feel safe around me because we're working really closely together. But, those feelings are making up your brand. And that's the energy piece. And a lot of the time, our energy can be quite off because number one, we're scared, we're fearing things like our visibility. So we're actually ironically coming across more cringy than because we believe that we're being cringy, so we come across that way, or it's this inauthenticity that people can feel, and they will feel it as soon as you walk into a room. So I always say there's this very fine line between confidence and cockiness, and you can feel it, right? When let's say you are in a networking session, you're in person, you're in this big group of people networking with these people, you can feel from across the room if you want to hang out with a certain person or if you're turned off by a certain person. And there might be two people in that room that are saying exactly the same thing, that are showing up in kind of the same way, that have got the same posture, all of this. They might be identical in that, but you are going to be drawn to one person more than the other person. And the reason being is because one person is actually fully confident, like for real, like they have done the healing work and they know who they are and they're so confident in themselves. The other person is putting on an act. The other person is faking it. They're being cocky. And that is why I always give the advice, because this is thrown around a lot. A lot of people will say to you, just fake it until you make it.
I was about to ask that.
Which I think is the worst advice you could possibly take, because if you're faking it, you will never make it. People will feel it straight away. So my advice, my saying is feel it until you seal it. Feel it so hard until you seal the deal, because that's the way that you are going to grow. That's the way that people are going to be drawn to you. If you're showing up faking any kind of, persona, people are going to be turned off. And that's just
that's so good.
Feel it till you seal it.
That's so good. And we have, I have a friend, she says, faith it until you make it. Faith
I love that. Yeah.
And, it's like when I hear that, it's like, have faith in yourself that, you're going to do it. You're going to become who you want to be. And, because you have to have faith in everything in life, whether it's spiritual or whether it's like just your beliefs and your ability in business or to be a father or a mother, whether, have faith in yourself and encourage yourself and inspire yourself and do all these things. So faith it till you make it.
Love that.
So Jessica, I want to, if you don't mind, transition a little bit and let's talk about what you do. And we've got a plethora of people in different levels right now.
Hey, I love that we haven't even asked what Jessica does, Jason. Like we've been chatting for 45 minutes and we don't even know what she does.
Well, I'm trying. Usually Jay Hill keeps me on track, but I'm trying to. I've got a program here, trying to keep us somewhat on track. But I want to give some people some very tangible action items. It could be just little foundational stuff, Jessica, that when you coach someone, if it's, working on their presentation skills, if it's, as you grow your brand, how to be comfortable in your own skin, just because you got to think people, even me, I said, I didn't like how I sounded. Right. And it's like, I was kind of nervous and held back. I had to deal with some stuff, right? I had to break some roadblocks. Even doing, podcasts and speaking in front of people and things of that nature. So what are some basic foundational stuff that if someone's listening, no matter where they're at on the gamut, that they can work on to be prepared?
This is a great question. I think that I always look at this in kind of like a 4-step process, and because this kind of work that I'm teaching my clients, it isn't a quick process. And I'm very much against, I guess, quick tips, because I don't like promoting this. I don't like promoting that you can change your life just by following a few quick tips, because there's so much more work that goes into it. And I think so. Number one is like a willingness. Like you have to be willing to do the inner work. And I think that a lot of the time, especially as entrepreneurs, and what I found definitely since creating this kind of new audience of very kind of like C-suite level people over on LinkedIn, is that the first thing people do is jump to strategy. And the first thing people do is go, okay, well, how quickly can I get to A to B by strategizing over it, right? Now, the strategy and the action taking is very, very important. However, if you're not willing to actually do work on yourself first, or at the same time as this strategy, you will not get from A to B. And frankly, you just won't. Like, you might see glimpses of it. You might think, oh, I'm getting there, but you won't get there, because every single leader, every single successful leader is working on their mindset behind the scenes. So you have to first be willing. And in order to be willing to do this work, you have to kind of know what it is, like educate yourself around it, actually understand when I say inner work, what that means. And what that does mean is allowing yourself to get to know yourself on a level that is so intimate that, being so intimate with yourself and who you truly are, that you have this hyper sense of awareness. And when you are hyper aware of who you are and how you move about the world, you can control everything about your world. You can control everything about your reality, because we can't control other people. We can't control, let's say you're trying to do some outreach and get some more clients, and the clients aren't coming in and the money's not flowing and all of these things. You can't control any of that. But what you can control is yourself. And what you can control is how you react to these situations, how you feel about these situations. And the long and short of really getting any kind of success in your life is kind of what I said at the start of this podcast: falling in love with where you already are. It's being able to feel amazing and feel good and feel great with where you're at now in order to get to where you want to be. A little hack, and this is more on the energetic piece, and I'm sorry, this is like not the quick tips that you were asking, but this is my kind of flow of how you can start getting into the inner work, I guess. But a little hack I have, well, actually, sorry, I'll go back so that people can kind of see a step process. So number one is clarity. You want to get clear on who you currently are, what your current story is, and where you want to be, what your vision, where the vision is, right? So the first piece of the puzzle is clarity, after the willingness, obviously, to do this work. The second piece of the puzzle is the mindset element. So this is, as I said, going to these subconscious beliefs, right? And you've got two sets of beliefs. You've got conscious ones and subconscious ones. The conscious ones are the things that you're thinking every single day, and you're thinking them. So let's say you wake up and again, you didn't make that sale, you didn't get that client, and your conscious thought is, oh my God, I need to get another client because I've not got any clients, I need them, right? That's a conscious stream of thought. Your subconscious is the things that's going on behind the scenes that you're not aware of. These are things that have been conditioned into you since you were about 7 years old. These are things from childhood that have been conditioned into you. And like I said, a lot of the time people have a subconscious belief around visibility, around showing up, around being seen. And a lot of people have subconscious beliefs around things like hard work and hustle culture, thinking that I have to work hard to be successful, when actually, in reality, you don't have to. These are things that are taken on in the background, and these are things that you can't access by yourself. You can do all the reading that you want. You can do all this listening to the podcast, doing all the things. But if you really want to access those beliefs, you've got to work with someone. It doesn't have to be a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but it can be a friend. It can be, a mentor. But you've got to do that work with someone, and you've got to be willing to do that work with someone. So that's the second piece. The third piece is your energetics. So as I said, you've had a little look at what's going on with your beliefs. You've had a little play around with that and starting to believe some more beneficial beliefs for yourself. And then you start looking at your energy and how you're showing up in the world. And you get to then start embodying the version of yourself that you really want to be. So this is probably my favorite part of the process, because I've got some really cool stories of embodying this version of me, this woman that is successful, because I haven't always been successful. And it might sound that way from some of the things that I've already spoken about. And, you know, people can overly glamorize the acting career. I haven't always been successful. In fact, there was a time in my life when I hated myself. Like, I hated who I was. I hated the way I looked. I hated how I showed up. And that, frankly, was the reason that things weren't going well for me. So what I started to do was say to myself, okay, what is it that I want? And at the time, I was obviously acting and I wanted to be on TV. And I'd never had a TV job before. So I started to embody this version of me that was TV actor. And energetically, I had to ask myself, how would a TV actor show up? If I was on Netflix right now, how would I show up in life? Would I be showing up thinking, believing, oh my God, I really want a job? No, because I'd already have the job. So really what I'd be thinking is, oh God, I can't wait to get on set, right? Sorry, this is language that maybe some of the entrepreneurs listening might not understand. I should have done a more businessy thing here. But, you know, I started to embody this version of me, right? And again, energetically, I was showing up fully excited for my day because I was excited to be on set. I was showing up really, really grateful. I was showing up really happy for that. All of that energetic piece around it was what was creating this version of me. And actually, funny enough, a week after I was doing all of that very, very intense work, I got a call from my agent to say I got booked my first TV job. So that's how quickly it can happen as well. So the energy piece is really, really important. And then the final piece is action. That's the final piece. That is the piece that people want to start with. That's the piece that you want to go straight to. Okay, where's the strategy for growing my brand? But that's where you finish with. That's what you do once you've laid this foundation for yourself. So that kind of 4-step process of vision, mindset, energy, and action is how I transformed my entire life and how I help my clients to transform their lives. So that was not quick, and I am very aware that they were not quick tips.
No,
but
that's awesome.
Fully instill this reality that it is not quick. It's not a quick process. And that's why we get to fall in love with it and actually be willing to do it. Because if you're not willing to go to these depths in yourself, you won't see the success that other people are seeing. And frankly, with the way it makes you feel when you do this work, you don't even need that thing. You won't even need it. I don't need to be on Netflix right now. I don't need to have a 8-figure business right now because I'm happy. I'm so happy. And ironically, that is why I'm going to get on Netflix. And that's why I'm going to get an 8-figure business.
There you go.
Because I'm happy. So
what?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I
was going to say, look, it's countercultural right now. Instant gratification and glorification. Yeah. It's overnight success. That's what we're bombarded with, Jessica, right? And the reality is it's hard, right? You did give a tip, a quick tip. It's hard. It's going to take you a while. And I think that's where we struggle working with, potential partners and clients, is sometimes they want to skip all the way to the execution. Forget mindset, forget strategy. They just want to execute, right? They're looking for the quick hits, right? The performance marketing, how do I get 100 followers in, 60 days or what, or maybe not 100, but, 100,000, because that would be kind of easier. But it's hard. It's hard work. You say grind. Yeah, it's grinding, but without the grind mentality. Right? being realistic that it's going to take, you're going to have to put in work. You're just not going to, take it easy breezy and, just go with the flow. And it's going to take time, and that's countercultural.
So the people that want to be an overnight success, here's what I tell you: it takes 15 years to be an overnight success.
Exactly.
And that's not my quote, but I can't remember who, but it resonated with. I don't know. I say it often because
true.
It is so true, and it's like you can always, hindsight's 20/20. You get on the other side of something, you look back, and you can see all the pieces that got you there, but you can never see it really when you're on the journey. Because we're so destination focused. We're like, success or where I want to be, this and that. You have to know the direction you want to go, or you're never going to get there. You're going to let the wind blow you wherever life takes you. So you got to know. But that's why I like those 4 steps you laid out, because the strategy and execution is that last piece. You have to do this work. And it makes me think of, whether you go to a therapist or a counselor, I think we all need these things. I used to be in the camp growing up that you only go to those places if you're messed up. So if somebody's seeing a therapist or a counselor, they got issues. Well, the truth is, we all have issues. The truth is, we all have trauma. The truth is, we've all been hurt in our past. The truth is, we all have beliefs that we're operating out of today based on something that has happened in our past or our present. So you have to find exactly what you said. You have to find somebody to at least talk through these things. Let those things be revealed. You have to reveal them and expose them before you can do the work on them and then move there. And what I liked about what you just said, Jess, with those 4 steps is that those 4 steps are how you transformed your life. And so many entrepreneurs and business owners out there, they're coming up with these 3-step, 4-step, 5-step plans, or they're copying somebody else of something that worked for them. But, that won't work. And so it's got to be real to you. And you figured out the formula that transformed your life to take you from here to here. So now when you go sell that, when you talk to somebody, when you coach somebody, it's coming from a real place, because you're like, look, I was where you are. And that's where that empathy comes in. It's like, I was exactly where you are. This is what I believed. And this is how I overcame it. And that's going to attract those people. They say, all right, Jess, help me get unstuck from here to where I want to be. That's what I heard you just say.
That is it. And that honestly is why my brand has grown so quickly, because that's the authenticity piece. It's part of talking about how I've done it myself. And I'm very, very passionate about that. I will never coach anything that I have never experienced, because how can I,
Right.
Which is why you also, as a coach specifically, I attract certain people to me, because they're people that are one step behind me or a couple of steps behind me on their journey, on the same similar journey, but and going back to what you said about how, it's going to take you 15 years to be an overnight success. The irony is that when you can actually fall in love with that fact and acknowledge it and be comfortable and happy with that, that's when you become an overnight success. So actually, sometimes, it doesn't have to take 15 years. Time is just a construct. At the end of the day, time doesn't even exist. Like time is what you make it. You can have a day where you literally feel like you have had where did the day go? And then you can have a day where you're like, why is this day dragging? Time is just a construct. Like, if you actually are satisfied, this is what it all is coming down to. If you're satisfied with where you are right now, you can collapse time and you can become an overnight success. But part of those 15 years that we talk about, part of that is learning how to handle your success. Because here's the thing, in this day and age, we do have certain algorithms that can make you go viral, and especially on things like TikTok. So let's say you're a business owner and you're starting your brand and you post the first video and boom, suddenly you've gone viral. Great, you've overnight gained this following. Can you actually handle that? Can you handle that virality? And this is a big conversation that comes up in a lot of my client sessions, because this is possible. It is possible to go viral in that way. But if you don't know what your brand is, where you're going with it, the vision, who you are, your own mindset, if you don't know any of those things, you are going to crash and burn again. So part of that learning about who you are and being willing to do this work is so that when that time does come, which it inevitably will do for you, if you have the right mindset, it will. When that time does come where your brand blows up, you are going to be able to handle it. And that is the main premise of my coaching.
And capitalize on it, right? So a lot of people have a sudden virility, but they don't know what to do. They post went viral. They're not even prepared with future posts, right? That went viral, but what's next?
It caught them off guard.
It caught them off guard. So what I'm hearing you is how to handle that and be prepared, right? And like you said, it's do the work and be ready for it, right? Feel it until you seal it. Feel it till you seal it.
Feel it,
faith it till you make it. I like them all. So Scorpio, this is your baby now, right, Jessica? This is Tell us, talk to us, teach, preach.
Yeah, I mean, it's Scorpio was born really recently, after my recent virality on LinkedIn, and I guess it's really everything that I was doing before with my coaching, but to a slightly different audience. So a lot of the skills that I have as both an actor and as a coach to influencers before, I'm transferring those skills over to entrepreneurs who want to grow their personal brands. So because we do live in this world of visibility, of showing up, and that being the way of life now in business, I am teaching other very successful business owners, people that have a very, and for me, it's very important that I'm working with people that have an important message to share. So I'm also very picky about who I work with for this reason. Like, I want to work with the people that are building businesses and brands. There's a reason why. There's a strong reason why you're doing it. And it's either a reason for yourself and your own story, or it is to better the world and the collective in a way, whatever it is. But I'm working with people that have an important message to share, because I believe that these people should be heard, and you should be seen, and you should be noticed for what you bring to this world. So I'm basically, Scorpio was born with this new audience of people that are majority entrepreneurs. And I'm still coaching my actors and my artists as well at the same time. I'm coaching anybody that has something meaningful to say. And what I do is I help you take your message and amplify it, whether that is through personal branding and like the strategy behind that and your own personal brand, or whether that's through just directly this mindset piece of understanding who you are and figuring out those beliefs and becoming that version of you. All of it is very relevant. And I'm packaging all of that up, and I'm helping coach entrepreneurs today. And so there's I work closely with people either on a one-on-one level, or I do group sessions. I did used to run an academy when I was working with artists, and that is going to be currently that is being transformed into more of an academy for entrepreneurs. So all of these things are in the pipeline. I do a lot of masterclasses. I do a lot of speaking events and in-person events. Obviously, when I'm in America, hopefully I could do some in-person events in America. But it is all centered around your mindset and visibility, and how to get you noticed as the entrepreneur you are. Because frankly, I believe that more good, pure-hearted entrepreneurs deserve to be heard. And that's really my mission.
I love that. Just I want to talk real quick as we finish this up about pre-qualification. I know when we had our call ahead of time, we don't accept everybody as a podcast guest. Doesn't mean everybody doesn't have a story to tell, but it just means that, we want to make sure that the message appeals to our audience. and you had connected with the same way. You said, hey, I pre-qualify every person that wants to become a coach or a client. What are some things that you're looking for, that are red flags when somebody comes your way that you see over and over again? Like if they have this trait or they're communicating this, that they're not going to be a good fit to work with me.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, like you've got to feel safe with me, and you've got to feel a vibe and kind of like connect with me off the bat. Like, and if there's anybody listening that has felt that way with me or like resonated with anything I've said, I just always say, don't be afraid to drop me a DM just so that we can chat. Because this is, there's different levels to coaching. And obviously, if you're working with me one-on-one, that's a whole other level. And that's a very personal level. So we have to get each other and we have to vibe with each other to do that. But like I said, I think the biggest thing here is I have to feel like you as an entrepreneur, your message, it's almost like, I guess, because I guess people coach in different ways, but for me, I like to look at you guys as talent. Probably from my background as well. Like I like to look at you guys as talent. I literally will pre-qualify you in terms of talent. If I can have a chat with you and I can see that you are going to go far, that you have something about you that is definitely that I can amplify. If I feel that, we're going to work well together. But if people are coming to me with absolutely zero knowledge of what coaching even is, or or I don't know, if you have zero knowledge of what this even is, then you're probably not the right fit for me. So it's getting to know me and having a chat with me. And I do offer a free, and I'll offer this to you guys, a free 30-minute call with me to sit down and just have a chat, figure out where you're at, figure out what you're wanting, what the vision is, where we want to take your business, and we can do that together. And I offer that, but I do only offer that to people who are serious about the coaching and have the funds for coaching in this time, just to respect my own time. So for anybody that is interested or would like to, have a chat with me on that level, then I'm sure we can link it somewhere for people to book.
Fantastic. We will drop that in the show notes for sure.
Everywhere.
Somewhere. We'll drop that in the show notes. We'll drop it in the show notes. So Jess, thank you so much for today. Chatting. This was amazing. We got the time zone difference. It's morning for us, afternoon for you. My mind's kind of blown. There's I love being in conversations like this where we're all aligned. We're talking the same thing, but hearing different perspectives. The energy you brought was just tremendous, and we're thankful for you. So if we'll drop in the show notes, but where can people follow you? Is there a website you send them to, or social media?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple places. You can either follow me on LinkedIn if you're big on there. That'll just be my name, Jessica Paul. You can follow me. You can follow our website. It's scorpiobranding.co.uk. It's not a .com, unfortunately. You can follow me on Instagram, and if you're like just a little bit nosy and you're a little bit interested in my brand as an actor, you can also follow me on TikTok, and my handle is @JessicaPaulX at the end. So yeah, they're the places you can follow me, but majority will be in my DMs on LinkedIn for those of you that are on there.
Fantastic. Awesome. Guys, go follow Jess. Absolutely. Jessica Paul. She says she likes her full name being said. Follow her because she's coming to the States. So follow her.
She like how we said her full name. I don't know if she likes how everyone says her full name.
Right. Okay. Good point.
We'll see. But yes,
thank you so much. And it was a pleasure chatting to both of you.
Hey, I think we'll have to have you on again in the future if you'd be open to that, Jess.
100%. Yeah.
Different time zone.
Different time zone. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening and joining us on the Love Your Brand podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode, and remember, share the love.